All right. Hopefully everyone can hear me clearly. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. And welcome to tonight's Board of Education Candidate Forum. My name is Ana Milena Moreno, and I am the Community Engagement Coordinator with Norwalk ACTS. Tonight's presentation with the candidates of the Board of Education is hosted by the Center for Youth Leadership at Brien McMahon High School and presented to you by Norwalk ACTS. The Center for Youth Leadership, which is a student activism organization, uses public awareness activities, volunteer programs, and social change campaign to address several social issues. Norwalk ACTS brings people and organizations together to work to improve outcomes for children and youth along the cradle to career continuum. Our collective impact work is rooted in the belief that no single organization alone can create large-scale, lasting social change on its own. Policy is a cornerstone of the work for Norwalk ACTS, and our partnership believes deeply that the community must be empowered and equipped to advocate for equitable policies and practices. Civic engagement is a core value of our work, and we are grateful for all the candidates who have answered the call to serve our community. This is also a great listening and learning opportunity for our community members to hear directly from our candidates. Lastly, Norwalk ACTS does not endorse any individuals or groups, but believes in providing opportunities for community members to make informed decisions about their elected leaders. And lastly, we do hold the right to remove any Zoom bombers or any inappropriate messaging by the chat. And so here's Vanessa with the introduction of the forum. Thank you.
Thanks, Anna Melina. My name is Vanessa Michelle, and I'm a member of the Center for Youth Leadership at Brien McMahon High School. I'm one of the facilitators for this forum tonight, and joining me are Roshni Youssef and Raisa Youssef, and both of them are also members of the Center for Youth Leadership. Here's the format for tonight. Introductions of the candidates will be followed by 2 rounds of unique questions, with the candidates asked in alphabetical order. A 3rd round will feature the candidates answering the same question, which were given prior to tonight. The questions were compiled by the Center for Youth Leadership and youth advocates from Norwalk ACTS. Sources include the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education, the Norwalk Youth Survey, policy groups in Louisiana, Iowa, and Maryland, newspaper articles, and others. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to answer each question. A bell will sound signifying the end of each 2-minute answer. If necessary, we will remind the candidates to wrap up their answers. Let's start by meeting the candidates. Here we are joined by Diana Carpio, Ashley Gullias, Nicole Hampton, Doug Hempstead, Alexandra Kemeny, Mary Ellen Flatterly Lugwood, Rashima Richardson, and Howard White. Welcome to all of you. Here is Raisa to start things off.
Thanks, Vanessa. Our first question is for Diana Carpio. The school district's strategic plan lists 10 values, including equity. The plan states, quote, "We will ensure that each and every student in every neighborhood has access, opportunity, support, and encouragement to excel in all current and future endeavors," end quote. Please give us your assessment of the district's work in support of equity.
First of all, thank you to Norwalk ACTS and the Center for Youth Leadership. Well, first, we have been working very diligently and having a lot of professional development, not only for the schools, but also for the Board of Education, and also meeting with students and having conversations and listening to their questions and their concerns. So in order to have any of this fall into place, we do have to make sure that everybody understands what equity means. And equity, sometimes we get a lot of pushback on that because it's a very misunderstood word. But equity does mean resources for every child, all child. It doesn't matter what financial level that they're at or the families that they come from. If they don't speak English, it's about making sure that every child gets an equal education. It's also very important to understand too that the staff has to understand in order to have empathy and understanding of what the students are going through. We as the board, we have to go through a lot of training too, because we're all very different. We are 9 members, but I am the only Latina on the board, and I was brought up very differently than my counterparts. Now we all have very different professions also. So it is at the top, forefront of our discussions at all times. We do learn a lot from each other, and we also learn a lot from the students and staff. So moving forward, it's a slow process, but it's going in the right direction. We do have experienced leaders that are meeting with us and giving us our training. So we look forward to being able to be equitable for all.
Thank you so much for that answer. My next question is for Ashley Golios. Last week, the Connecticut Education Association released the results of a survey it administered to teachers. The results revealed that, quote, 77% of educators report being stressed out or burnt out, which is up 8% from 2022, end quote. The survey also found that, quote, 74% of educators are considering retiring early or leaving the profession altogether, end quote. Here's your question. What is your assessment of the district's strategy to hire, retain, and support teachers, especially those who are Black, Hispanic, or Indigenous?
I think I unmuted. Okay. Thank you so much for that question. Before I answer, I want to just thank Norwalk ACTS and the Center for Youth Leadership for facilitating this forum and for researching such thoughtful and important questions. This is a really great question for me to answer. I am a teacher, not here in Norwalk. I teach at a small school in Stamford, and I'm in my 15th year of teaching. I think that survey is pretty accurate. As far as here in Norwalk, I think that we have fantastic teachers. My child just started kindergarten, and I have been so impressed by all of the teachers at my child's school. So I think we're doing a fantastic job hiring. I think as far as continuing to retain our teachers, we need to make sure that we're listening to what they need. Teachers continue to have more and more put on their plates, and the plates aren't getting bigger, and we're not getting any more time to consume what's on the plates. And I think that it's really important that when teachers express to us that something is too much or that they need more time, that we show them that respect and really listen to them, because time is something that teachers could really use more of. So I think that if we're going to retain and support our teachers, we need to make sure we're really doing a good job of listening to them. As a teacher, I hope to be able to be an advocate, asking important questions at Board of Ed meetings on behalf of teachers and making sure that they have been spoken to about all initiatives and everything that's coming their way, because it is a lot. I think that in what I've found in my own child's school is that there is I've seen diversity amongst those who are hired. And I think that that's fantastic. I also think that we need more diversity in our hiring across the board. Most teachers are white women like myself, and I think that we need much more representation across the board.
Thank you so much for that answer, Ashley. The next question is for Nicole Hampton. Last year, the Killingly Board of Education in upstate Connecticut voted to deny a grant-funded mental health center at the district's high school. The Connecticut Department of Education decided to launch an investigation into the decision, citing the ongoing reluctance of the Killingly Board of Education to recognize the mental health needs of its students. As you know, Norwalk students, like others around the state, experience mental health challenges. What is your assessment of the mental health services the district provides to students?
Hi. First and foremost, thank you for, hold on 1 second, sorry. Is that better?
Yep.
Okay. So first, thank you for hosting this Norwalk ACTS, as well as Center for Youth Excellence. Leadership. As far as mental health services, and I work in the field, and these are much needed services, especially for our youth. And I'm a strong advocate for the Local Prevention Council, where we go head to head trying to get more grants and more funding from the state when it comes to these. And that's why our youth surveys that we promote throughout the schools are so important to gather that data so that we have that data to retain the services that are needed in our community. It's unfortunate that Killing Board of Ed did not, go ahead with that mental health center, because mental health services are so needed for every population, but especially our children, as well as the social, emotional learning. Our kids showed throughout our youth survey in Norwalk that, some of them don't even have a trusted adult that they can go to. You know what I mean? Most of them don't even know that mental health and addiction services exist in our high schools. So I think, as well as getting that funding, proper like education for parents and for children is very important, because mental health matters, and we need to break down the stigma as a state, but especially in the city of Norwalk, to let kids know that it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to ask for help. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicole. The next question is for Doug Hempstead. During the last legislative session in Hartford, legislators proposed a transparency in education bill. The governor signed the bill into law in June 2023. It addresses several issues, including school food programs, teacher diversity, youth suicide prevention, and students training to become paraeducators. It also addresses school resource officers, the situations that call for their intervention, and how they report those interventions. The Connecticut Black and Brown Student Union and other advocates support the section on school resource officers. What is your view of school resource officers in our schools?
Sure, thank you very much to Norwalk ACTS and the Center for Youth Leadership. Well, let's see, what kind of support services that are resources? We don't have enough resources in our school. I think that's evident from the article that we just alluded to before about survey with teachers. We need to move more resources into the classroom, and we need to move more resources out of our central office into our schools. There are challenges with controls. There are challenges with how our youth are treated within the system. And sensitivity training is also a key to making sure that those officers and those people associated with the function of that are properly trained and are sensitive to the issues. The state of Connecticut, in my opinion, is great for putting all these mandates back on the local school systems, but do not provide the necessary funding that goes along with this. If it does, it's very limited. Our schools have been lacking funding for quite a few years now, decades. Compared to most schools, we get Danbury gets 4 times more than we do to support our school system. It's hard to enact all these things that are great and certainly needed within our school system without the money to do so.
Thank you so much, Doug, for that answer. Our next question is for Alexandra Kimini. A few weeks ago, the Associated Press published an article about the lack of sex education in America's public schools, especially when it comes to LGBTQ students. Last year, Hearst Media published a similar article about schools in Connecticut, citing the fact that Connecticut is among 11 states that do not require sex education in public schools, and instead offers guidelines for local districts and teachers to navigate on their own. The 2022 guidelines from the Connecticut Department of Education outline a health and sexuality education for all races, genders, sexualities, and backgrounds. Here's the key point. Local school districts are not required to follow the Department of Education guidelines. Tell us how inclusive you think sex education should be in Norwalk schools.
Good. Can you hear me? Okay, great. As far as sex education, I think we really need to focus, and it doesn't matter whether you're gay or whether you're bisexual or whatever, all of us really need to get back. And as a board member, we have to have higher expectations. If we can't read, it doesn't really matter where we are on the sexual spectrum. I think that has to be our focus. Now, I do understand that if you are confused about your sexuality, then perhaps you do have these social issues might impact your education, your academics. So we need plenty of counselors to help these students who are having trouble maneuvering and navigating, figuring out where they fit in. But I think our focus really needs to be on high expectations in the classrooms and having more social workers to help them deal with their issues. Because I think teachers are not equipped to and handle situations in the classroom. So I just think that you need specialists to do that who is their forte, because it's difficult. They're not trained. And I think you need proper trainers to help in that situation. So students should be allowed to leave the classroom if they're having problems, and they need to sign up so they can see the counselors, which I think we need more of.
Thank you so much for that answer, Alexandra. The next question is for Mary Ellen Flatterly Ludwig. It's about technology. AI has been in the news a lot lately. Many school districts around the country have raised red flags about the impact of AI on education. Other school districts have embraced the technology and worked with students on how to use AI for classworks and projects. Give us your assessment of how the Norwalk Schools District has handled the use of AI in our schools. Oh, sorry, you're muted.
You're still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Okay, wonderful. So let's go back. The question is about AI.
Yeah, I can
and
repeat
about chat GPT.
about like AI in general and like how you
AI in general.
district has handled the use of AI.
I think first, thank you for having this forum, and thank you, Norwalk ACTS and the Center for Youth Leadership. I appreciate that. How is our system, the Norwalk Public Schools, handling AI? I'd like to talk about Chat GPT first. I first learned of that last December, and I think there is an openness in the board. Dr. Estrella was good enough to show us in between a break what the Chat GPT could do, and we were all amazed. This is last December. There's been an open attitude about experimenting, and in general, we have recently received grants from Verizon to have ultra wonderful labs that can have 3D printers and little visuals that go to the cutting edge of where we are with artificial intelligence. And I think Norwalk stands strong in using the grants that we've received, and in pushing forward, challenging our students. We have Ponus Ridge has the STEAM program. We have PTech. We have all of these groups that are really finding out how to be leaders in the next task they have before them in the future. So I think we're doing very well.
Thank you so much, Mary Ellen, for your answer. The next question is for Rashima Richardson. What are the 2 education priorities you will look to accomplish during your time on the Board of Education, and why are they the most important priorities?
Hi, thank you for having me. I really appreciate y'all taking up your time today and having me here. One of my priorities would be bringing back the disconnect and the disengagement from the students with the teachers and the parents with the students. We need to get the youth back we need everyone together again. We need the students, the parents, the teachers, everyone to hold together because without the engagement, we're so disengaged right now that everyone is everywhere. So what I would like to do is bring together programs to have parents come in, interact with the kids. It doesn't matter if you're in high school. Sometimes you need a parent or someone there to root you on if you're doing a project or if you need extra help and it's the teacher can't do it or someone just there for you. So I want to bring back engagement and get away from the disconnect that we have with parents, teachers, and students. That's what I would try to bring back to the Board of Education. And that would be one of my main focus on how to try to achieve that and how we could do that together, working together, students, parents, and teachers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rashima, for your answer. The next question is for Howard White. Board of Education members have access to information about our schools through official sources such as meeting packets, surveys, and reports from school officials. Tell us what unofficial sources of information that you will use to educate yourself about the school district and to determine if the district is meeting the needs of students and parents.
Thank you for having me on this evening. Also, thank you for hosting this event overall. First and foremost, I think it's very important that, for me personally, to do the resource. It's important to educate myself first. And that's the first and most important thing I would have to do to make sure that me personally is doing my part. And to also go back and do the resource to look at and to make sure that the Board of Education is doing their part for the community as well. It's very important because the community is not receiving the information. They may not be receiving the information that should be given to them firsthand. In order for us to deliver the message, we have to make sure that first and foremost that we're doing our parts. I also think it's very important to add the families into it. You need to more or less do more engagement as far as workshops is concerned. I think we need to educate the parents first and foremost. You have to educate them, have to be prepared. Sometimes, parents are not aware of, we can send package home to them, but if they don't understand the package, how are they going to be able to deliver the message to their kids? So it's very important for us to do our part firsthand to make sure that we're doing exactly what we need to do for the community. Not also for the community, also add the community involved, is the community centers and the community opportunities as well, because of the fact that, they are resources, they'll be able to help. And it's very important to deliver those messages. If we're not delivering them, then they'll be able to deliver the message to the families as well.
All right. Thank you so much for that answer. And my next question is for Diana Carpio. This past June, the Connecticut governor signed into law a Bill of Rights for multiple language learners and their parents. The law addresses inequities in education, such as quality of interpretation services for parents and students, as well as detailed information about programs and services related to education or bilingual education. Given your knowledge of multiple language learners and their parents, how would you ensure that they succeed in our schools?
I'm loving that question. First, let me start by saying that I am very active in Norwalk, on the streets, walking, meeting families. I was always that mom in every school that had to be the person that would find resources and ask questions and help the families that couldn't find those. When I first started on the Board of Ed, it was because the community reached out to me. And my biggest step for them was bridging the gap of communications with any family that doesn't speak English. And when my priority, when we were interviewing Dr. Estrella, was the fact that we needed someone that understood that. We needed someone that was going to be able to help with bridging the gap. one of the things that we both talked about and she actually put into effect was translation services of all of our meetings. We needed translation services, and right now we have them in Spanish and in Haitian Creole. That before was never seen. Yes, it is an expense, and it's something that we have to put in the budget, but it was something that was needed, especially in Norwalk, that's diversity is so high. And also, very proud of the fact that we opened a family center. There was a lot of pushback on that too, because, we kept hearing things like, that was a waste of money. Why are we doing this, that, and the other? But at the same time, that is a place where we have forums. We meet with families, children come in. I was able to open up an family center pantry with the help of Norwalk Mutual Aid. We've been able to have feed families and students that didn't have anything at home to put on their table. So for me, being a daughter of immigrants and being the first one actually to go to school and go to college here, it means a lot to me that parents need to know what resources are out there for their children.
Thank you so much for that answer. My next question is for Ashley Gullius. According to PEN America, there were 3,300 book bans in 2023. Of the book bans, of the book banned, more than 1,200 were banned from classroom and school libraries, which represents an increase of nearly 400% from 2022. On September 14th, the Policy Committee of the Norwalk Board of Education reviewed a draft policy about the acquisition of material for school libraries. Here's your question. If the Norwalk superintendent puts together a committee to review book challenges from the public, who should be on the committee and why?
Thank you. That is a great question. I have really strong feelings against book banning. I'm very opposed to book banning. I think that all children deserve to see themselves in the books in our school libraries. And I think that we need to trust our educators and our school librarians that they are selecting age-appropriate material for our school libraries. So as far as a committee, who should be on a committee to review book challenges? Obviously, I think there need to be board members. I think that there need to be school administrators and leaders. I think that there need to be teachers. I understand there need to be parents, and most of those challenges I would imagine are coming from parents, but I would like there to be something written in, if there were to be a committee, that everyone needs to read the books that are being challenged and have concrete reasons for challenging them, because I actually read a lot of young adult books myself, and I've read a lot that have been on the banned books lists, and they are age appropriate, and the reasons for banning them I think are a little suspect, and I don't know that it is fair that they're being banned, because most of the books that are being banned and challenged across our country address marginalized communities, the LGBTQ community, and these are students who deserve to be able to go to their library and find a book that represents them and where they can see themselves. And children from other communities who are not in these marginalized communities need to read these books as windows into other lives that are not their own, to be understanding and empathetic to others. So in general, I'm opposed to book banning, and I think a committee needs to be very diverse and have a lot of representation from all members of the community.
Thank you so much, Ashley, for your answer. This next question is for Nicole Hampton. Here are a few challenges facing members of boards of education around the country: time away from family and friends, citizen groups that push a political agenda, book bans, and the teaching of American history. These and other issues have led some people to question their willingness to dedicate time to their local Board of Education. So tell us, why do you want to be a member of the Norwalk Board of Education?
Hi, thank you so much for this question. So I'm running because I'm a concerned mother who loves Norwalk and cares about our children's future. As per the superintendent's end of year report, 19.1% of Black students are future ready. 23.4% of Hispanic students are future ready, and 60.9% of white students are future ready. This is not acceptable. And I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that 60% of our students cannot read on grade level. And, you know, how does anyone succeed in any of their classes without being able to read and comprehend? I would help create a policy to address the students in the 30 to 50 percentile who currently are not offered any resources as per current policy. As a mother from our school district, I realize that our children deserve better. Every child deserves to experience equity and to feel inclusive. And also the equitable learning and not just hear about it. My credentials are the following. I'm a woman in recovery. I'm a mother of a sophomore at Norwalk High. I'm a mental health and addiction provider for over 7 years. I'm a strong advocate and member of our local prevention council and catchment area council, a Jack and Jill of America Inc. alumni, board of directors, for the Connecticut Certification Board. And I was also appointed to the Connecticut Peer Certification Task Force by Senator Duff. I am running for the Board of Education because our children deserve better. The proper resources or policies to achieve reading on grade level. I won't forget that I work for our children, our teachers, and the taxpayers of our community. I'm a community-minded leader who is embedded in my community and has the willingness to give of myself and a passion of helping others. I am running for the Board of Education so that little girls who look like me know it's possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that answer. Our next question is for Doug Hempstead. Can you give us your assessment on restorative practices as a tool to address student behavior?
Yeah. I'm sorry, could you repeat that one more time? I missed one word about classes. Go ahead.
Sure. My question is, can you give us your assessment on the restorative practices as a tool to address student behavior?
Well, I can't because I don't know what restorative practices are since I'm not on the Board of Education and have been able to divulge that. What I can give you is that whatever services that we have to offer have to be data-driven as far as responses back, inclusive in that we need to involve parents, teachers, and the Board of Education staff to bring about the proper implementation of those and the actual findings of those to be evaluated. You know, as a board member, especially when you're not on the board for any kind of term, you have to figure out what you're bringing to the table. And as a person that served on the city council for quite some time, had five times council president, leadership roles. I've been involved with the school system. I went through the school system here. My wife went through the school system here. My boys all went through the school system there, and I got 3 grandchildren in the school system. My wife's a retired elementary school teacher at Wolfpit. I've been chairman of Norwalk Communities in School, which used to run after school programs at Kendall. I've been I was a school mentor for quite a few years. And I also was on the diversity, the regional diversity in education and quality, which was formed with the Chef O'Neill case. So as someone at the table, an item like this, I'm going to have to take like everybody else and learn each item as I move along. All right. I cannot do that without the assessments and the information that goes behind a question like that, unfortunately. So as long as the resources are available, it's probably worth pursuing a more close-knit community. I'm sure there's, in sounding of it, what it might be also connects with mental health. That's something the state of Connecticut and everybody talks about, but there's never enough sufficient funding.
Thank you for your answer. My next question is for Alexandra Kimini. In a report published by the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, schools and school districts, in a rush to meet the mental health needs of students, may be tempted to unintentionally implement half measures or low quality measures that are masquerading as high quality ones. Can you give us your assessment of the district's social emotional learning work in the schools?
Yes, I know that there are a few schools who have social emotional learning teacher in their class. It's one of their prep times. They have a special teacher that comes in. That's only, I think, 1 40-minute period per week. So I think that that's elementary school. I think that needs to be addressed a little bit more. Maybe we should have a specific curriculum that teachers would read certain books and have discussions. There needs to be discussions. Children need to express how they feel so they can learn and understand, become more empathetic, and see different viewpoints so they can learn tolerance. Everybody comes from different places, and we need to understand the values of different people and respect them. There needs to be more respect in the classroom, and that helps with the social emotional learning, but it needs to come, a lot of it, from professionals. And that's the problem. Our teachers are inundated with these problems, and their job is to teach the children how to learn. And get them how to learning reading. So perhaps they need to have the availability to go to social workers or counselors in order to deal with these problems. Parents need to be brought in. There needs to be some kind of more supports for these students, because we're getting out of the COVID issues, but it still remains with us, and we have to address it. So I don't know, I think I covered it a little bit. I just feel that the teachers are overwhelmed. They're dealing with teaching the kids, they're reading, the math, and I think we need more professionals in the classroom to deal with the social emotional learning of our children. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alexandra, for answering the question. This next question is for Mary Ellen Flaherty Ludwig. What educational innovations from other school districts would you bring to our district?
Thank you for that question. I am going to reverse. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to reverse that question and say some of the things that we're doing in Norwalk that I would bring to other schools. One of them is a program that got started because we were funded from the government during the pandemic, and we were charged with coming up with something innovative that would help with learning loss. So the program is called WIN, What I Need, and we are doing it from K through 8th grade. It's set up that what I need for gifted kids this is what they're doing, a program on designing or creating something. The kids that are achieving well, they have an extension program that's exciting and fun. Kids that are struggling are in much smaller groups, 3, 4, maybe less, and they have a professional, sometimes teachers with great experience, many years of teaching. I know one interventionalist that reported to us on the curriculum committee that she couldn't wait to go to school every day, because she felt she was impacting these kids that were struggling, targeted exactly to what they needed, extra help in where they were. And happy enough, when we came time for assessment, the reports of the how we worked on our national and state tests, these targeted kids with interventionalists went up significantly. And so this is a program, the WIN program, I would like to bring to other districts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary Ellen, for answering the question. This next question is for Rashima Richardson. Many students struggle academically and emotionally. They cite the lack of connections with school counselors and teachers in their schools. In fact, last week, a foundation in Connecticut announced that 19% of teens and young adults in Connecticut were at risk or disconnected. According to the foundation, today's high school students who are at risk have the potential to become tomorrow's disconnected young people. According to Norwalk students, connections, when they do occur, happen only when students are failing. What prevents school counselors and teachers from connecting with students before students start to struggle?
Thank you for this question. What prevents students from connecting could be, it could be a numerous things. It could be problems at home. It could be poverty. It could be just kids struggling with like everyday needs. So that's what prevents them from connecting. And it hurts the teachers because it's not the teacher's fault. It's not the kids' fault, but it's the circumstances that the kids are in. So what we have to do is that we have to bring back, we have to reconnect. We have to see where we're failing them at. We have to get them before the disconnect happened. We have to get them sixth grade, fifth grade. We have to be more transparent. When students come to us, we must listen without judging. We must hear them and then assess the problem. We're not listening. Everybody's not listening. Students are not listening. Parents are not listening. Counselors are not listening. Everybody needs to reconnect. And we have to find a medium where we could connect that. It has to be somewhere where we can, it has to be a place. And I know there's a place that we can find it, but we have to find a forum where we can bring this together for all of us.
Thank you so much for your answer, Shima. My question is for Howard White. Curriculum oversight is a phrase that we came across a lot in researching questions for you and the other candidates. Here's your question. What oversight role do you think parents should have in developing curricula for students, for schools, and selecting books and material for class?
Great question. And it goes back to, involvement. It's very important to involve parents into schools discussions. They're truly overlooked. If you give them the opportunity to sit down with educators and give their perspective of how and which books should be looked into by giving them the opportunity to form a committee, and you can get a group of parents to form that committee to go through the dialogues of the books that the Board of Education may be looking to implement into the school system, because by them forming that committee and getting them the opportunity to give the firsthand opportunity for it, that will lead and give us the opportunity to understand that, number one, parents are supporting it. Number two, parents are behind it. Number three, parents feel open to discuss it. And the most importantly, if it's something that they do not agree with, they have a voice, and their voice should be taken into consideration. By giving them that opportunity, that will lead and give us the opportunity to see what it is that's best suited for these children in general. Not to overlook the issue, but to make sure that they're getting the opportunity to voice their concerns and voice their opinions. That's very important. You have to continue to add parents into the resources of the education department. We have not been doing that. We need to make sure that we do that. And by doing that, their voice matters. And that's the piece that they do not agree with. They feel overall their voice does not matter. By implementing them and adding them in, best believe they can trust and understand that they will support this in each and every way.
Thank you so much, Howard, for your answer. We are up to the final question of the forum, which every candidate will answer. Remember, this is the only question that was sent to the candidates before tonight. In 2021, the National School Boards Association published a report called Reimagining School Board Leadership. It recommends that Board of Education members ask school leaders questions about equity, teaching and learning, communications, and other topics. Here's one question the report recommends we ask of school leaders. Are we teaching the truth about American history from multiple perspectives, for example, slavery, white supremacy, and Native American genocide? Tell us how Norwalk school leaders would answer that question. The first to answer is Diana Carpio.
Diana, you're on mute.
Sorry. Well, thank you for that question. That's a very important question. But before I answer, I do want to say that I've been on the board for 4 years, won the respect of my colleagues, and I'm the chair for a year. So I am definitely out there on the streets, meeting people and families and listening to everyone. And it's a very difficult time. Now, for the question, that is a very, very hot topic in this country. This is a nationwide discussion. We have to remember that this is not about erasing history, as some would say, but about understanding history in all its aspects of people's lives. We are teaching the truth about American history from various perspectives through the model that we have adopted with Unbound Ed Gleam model, which focuses on making sure that our instruction is at grade level, engaging, affirming, and meaningful to ensure that teachers and staff are ensuring instruction meets the needs of all the learners and is inclusive of them so that they can connect with their learning. Norwalk leaders are engaging with their staff through their equity ambassadors around the conversations to shift mindsets around social and cultural identities so that we can address how we are providing instruction that gives access to all. Through the work with Equity Institute, our equity ambassadors have tackled and turnkey training around difficult topics such as racism, white supremacy, and its impact on social past and present, and the importance of communicating the impact of various groups. As teachers and staff learn about these subjects and how these impact our students, then we open the door for all students to feel safe and welcome, and to be able to ask the questions and to be able to have fair and equal dialogue.
Thank you so much for your answer, Diana. Next to answer this question is Ashley Gulias.
Thank you. I do feel that Norwalk school leaders would confirm that Norwalk Public Schools are teaching accurate and honest American history that shares multiple perspectives. First of all public high schools in Connecticut are required to teach African American and Puerto Rican studies courses. Additionally, Norwalk Public Schools teachers have had opportunities in recent years to attend workshops to increase their comfort level with having challenging conversations about some of the uglier sides of American history, such as slavery, white supremacy, and Native American genocide. This has included working with the Equity Institute, as Diana mentioned, over the course of several sessions. On a personal level, I'm very supportive of this work and feel that these conversations must be ongoing. Teaching our children accurate history is absolutely critical and can be done in an age-appropriate manner across all grade levels. Our children must learn the harm that has been done by systems of oppression in our country if they're going to be the generation to create lasting change. This isn't about making anyone feel guilty for their identity. It's about acknowledgement of the past and commitment to being better in the future, and acknowledgement of a lot that's happening in the present as well. Viewing education through an anti-bias, anti-racist lens is ongoing and challenging work that I'm fully in support of. I feel that my perspective as an educator and a parent will make me a strong advocate on the board for our teachers and students, ensuring that everyone, students, teachers, and parents feel respected and supported. I'm committed to standing up for our marginalized communities and keeping them safe and represented in our school communities. I will make choices based on equity and inclusion for all of our diverse populations and will push for all of the support services our children and families need, both academic interventions and social emotional learning supports. Our Norwalk Public Schools teachers need an educator voice advocating for them on the board, and I would be honored to be that voice. So just thank you again to Norwalk ACTS and the Center for Youth Leadership for facilitating this important and thoughtful forum.
Thank you so much for your answer, Ashley. Next to answer the question is Nicole Hampton.
Hello. First and foremost, I want to thank Norwalk ACTS and the Center of Youth Leadership for hosting this forum tonight. And thank you for the question. Norwalk school leaders would say, yes, we are teaching the truth about American history from multiple perspectives. As per our school leadership's equity statement, to prepare our students to succeed in a multicultural global society, we support our schools in teaching the contributions and viewpoints of all people, using culturally relevant curricula. As a person in recovery, a mother, a mental health provider, and a member of Norwalk's local prevention council, this is music to my ears. I believe the key is that growth is in continued information we learn and teach our children. I'm proud of our school district for being #1 in diversity. According to our superintendent's end-of-year report, 60% of our students cannot read on grade level. 81% of our Black students are not future ready. And 56% of our students, 6th to 12th grade, don't even feel like they're being challenged. My goals on the Board of Education would be to raise expectations and standards, which will cost the taxpayers $0, improve academic performance, and reprioritize budget spending, as well as supporting our district's 5 strategic priorities: future readiness, equity, excellence, engagement, and high-quality construction and support. My name is Nicole Hampton, and I'm asking for your vote on November 7th for the Board of Education District C, and I approve this message.
Thank you so much for your answer, Nicole. Next to answer is Doug Hempstead.
Hi, thank you very much. As to knowing whether or not a historical truth, according to multiple perspectives, is being taught, I really don't know. And this is part of the transparency that's needed in education. There's no information available on the Board of Education website under curriculum, nor is it listed on the state's curriculum guidelines. Hopefully it is being taught. The study of historical subjects utilizing the inquiry process is one of the better processes at the appropriate grade levels, the method for discussing items deemed historical factual. Listen, the United States is unique as it's its history and population diversity. Yet history is the study of historical facts. History, however, is relevant to time. I would hope that our students are being taught historical events viewed in the context of when they took place, as well as the context of times past. We have made many decisions as a country, both right and wrong, which include methods in which actions were enacted or tolerated. I feel as long as we evaluate the results of these decisions in the context of which we deem to be the truth, we will continue to progress as a country. The National School Board Association supplement report that we were referred to has a list of multiple recommendations of the concepts of Board of Education. It's one of its statements is that further states school boards set visions and policy. Under today's rules of governance and best practices, the school board must take seriously its role to create a distinct culture that strives for excellence, acknowledges and addresses inequities, views mistakes as learning opportunities, and sees as it works as one of constant improvement. That way, looking ahead rather than behind. Our education system is in the business of educating our students. Right now, our education is failing our students. And we're not only failing the students, we're failing the parents, and we're failing the future of all of us. It is time we start putting the resources necessary to get our reading scores up, because with the reading abilities I've always said, if you can read, you can do anything. And that skill set.
Thank you so much for your answer, Doug. Next, we'll hear Alexandra Kemeny.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. I'd like to thank the Norwalk ACTS for the opportunity to speak at this forum. Now, history should be taught in truth from all perspectives, framed by the cultural standards of the time period in which they occurred, only then analyzed by today's perspectives. Hopefully, this is what the policy is and how Norwalk leaders would answer that. But just as the truth should be taught in history, we need to face the truth of what's happening in our schools. The truth is that a majority of our students are not proficient in reading. We are failing them. Looking back on my 31 years of teaching in the Norwalk public school system, I have seen the precipitous decline in expectations and the lowering of standards for our students. This is the most critical issue facing our educational system. A philosophy of lowering expectations so as not to bruise the ego of our students is not preparing them to be future ready, as our State of the Schools report asserts. Our schools should imitate life and teach that a real work ethic pays off. Our current policies prove wanting. It's time for a change. New ideas, new solutions, and new challenges. our students will step up to higher expectations. In a recent student survey, nearly half of our 6th through 12th graders said that they didn't feel school had rigorous expectations of them. They need more challenge. As graduates, our students will be competing in a global economy, and we as a school system can't ignore the facts and the data that tell us many of our students don't have the tools to compete academically. If elected to the board, it's my intention to advocate and find a way for each and every student to reach their individual potential. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alexandra, for answering the question. Next to answer is Mary Ellen Flaherty Ludwig.
Thank you for this question. It is such a good and challenging one. Truth is key in history. We have in the state of Connecticut in 2020, the first requirement for all high school students to have an opportunity to take an elective in Black and Latino studies to see, looking at the contribution of both of those cultures to our American history. And so, yes, the answer is we are teaching that in all of our high schools. I would like to share a story about an experience I had. In May 2019, I went on a journey to Montgomery, Alabama. I went on my own. I had seen something on 60 Minutes that there was a Peace and Justice Museum there that dealt with and looked at the ugly side of our history, and that is the killing of so many people. The model for this museum was Holocaust museums in Germany, and the hope is looking at what our true history is, we can then heal. So I went, and I was deeply moved. It's structured that there are columns made out of iron, and inscribed on each column is the name of a man, woman, or child in a particular county in southern states. I lived in Pensacola, Florida for about 10 years, so I went to Escambia County and found the names of the people. I'd just like to finish by saying that it's important for us to look at the truth. And the encouragement I had was I saw a group of middle school students from busloads from Maryland there walking around and looking at the reality of what had happened in our history. And I take courage and hope in the future from that.
Thank you so much for your answer, Mary Ellen. Next to answer is Rashima Richardson.
I'm impressed by how thoughtful your questions have been tonight. If only all of our students were as well prepared as our students volunteers from the Center of Youth Leadership. I would like to thank you for your commitment to education and your community. You have bright futures ahead of you. Do not take your privilege for granted. Unfortunately, when it comes to teaching U.S. history, a lot of our kids can't read at grade level. Most students can't pick up a book, any book with words, and read with comprehension. So how could the Board of Ed address how U.S. history is taught in our schools when our students are failing at fundamentals like reading, writing, and math? If you're a Black kid in a Norwalk public school, your chances of graduating high school ready for college are 1 in 5. I don't like those odds. The odds aren't much better for Latino kids. 1 in 4 are ready for college at graduation. Those are some of the dismantled statistics. Talk about problems. Of course, our children should learn the truth about the foundings of our country, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That means they need to be able to read sources from varied perspectives, such as everything from fundamentalistic papers to the 1619 Project to Frederick Douglass. And they need to be able to figure out on their own where these sources came from. Are they accurate? Where they fall short? In addition to the failing on fundamentals, we're not teaching our students how to think critically, so they could discern between facts and fiction, between the truth and someone else's agenda. I'd like to thank the Norwalk ACTS and the Center of Youth Leadership for organizing this debate. My name is Rashima Richardson. I'm running for the Board of Education to represent the children, parent, and residents of District B, and it would be my privilege to earn your vote on November 7th. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rashima, for your answer. And finally, we have Howard White.
Thank you. First and foremost, I just think it's very important to look at the facts. Facts speak for itself. And yes, teachers are going to talk about and say, yes, they are teaching that. And that's a curriculum they have to teach. But the most important thing that we're forgetting is the fact that to make sure that they're being taught the truth. They're being taught the way it particularly was happening. That's very important, and I just feel overall that, when you have facts, you have numbers, and when you see the things that's going on in today's society, it's very important to make sure that our children are being taught the way they should be taught so they can have a clear understanding to what's going on. And that's the piece that's being missed. The piece that's being missed is the fact that there are things that are being being pushed to the side. You can't do that. It's very important that we need to make sure that we're doing what we need to do. As by me running and being involved over the years, I have over 20 plus years in judicial. I have over 30 plus years. You gotta have that list. And as far as being involved with the Board of Stanford, and I was also a high school coach. So history speaks for itself. And it's very important that I can bring that leadership role to Stanford Board of Ed. I'm running for District B, and I'm running with the understanding that to come in and help and be that voice. I always make it myself open to be the voice for the community because that's what I lead. I lead by example, and I speak it as I show it. Thank you for this opportunity as well.
Thank you all for your answers. This is it for the forum. We want to thank the audience for joining us. We could have not have done it without the support of Norwalk ACTS and its youth advocates. Finally, we have a big thanks to the candidates for taking the time to answer our questions, and good luck with the election. Good night. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm off.